The check engine light bulb actually burned out. Range Rover, baby. And it died before we could even leave the lot. As we weren't able to get that front bumper off, my favorite tool, the Sawzall, is gonna come out. All right, well, time to take her to the mechanic and see how bad it is. As you could tell from the last video with my friends, it's running and driving just fine, really. So I expect this to be a hopefully not too long visit to the mechanic where we can just get the odds and ends sorted. All I really know from the previous seller was maybe the head gaskets are bad, so let's really cross our fingers that they're not. I still don't see any evidence that they are. There's no white smoke, the coolant looks normal. So if we dodge that bullet, that will be a huge success. From there, I need to figure out the traction and ABS lights, what's causing those. I'm hoping it's just something simple like a wheel speed sensor. And I need to figure out why it's failed inspection in Massachusetts 4 times in a row, which is weird. Oddly, there's no check engine light, so I'm hopeful that means that maybe that's the exhaust leak or something else that's causing the issues, but off to find out here in a little bit what the dealio is and how bad the damage will be. I have not gotten an estimate, so this should be interesting. Follow along as I figure out what I just bought, fix it up, and then sell it live with no reserve on Cars and Bids.
You think this was a bad purchase by Nick?
I don't know yet. I mean, it seems okay.
Well, here we are to pick up the car, and it died before we could even leave the lot. The battery was dead and it stalled out, so we're got it on the charger to see if we can get enough juice to get it home. But the journey continues with the 2-month repairs for the good old P38. Alright, she is up and running and ready to go home, so we just settled up the bill, $1,400 bucks. Oh my god, is it gonna stall out right now? Maybe we're not ready to go home. That didn't sound good. It's kind of running. This is a disaster part 10 on the P38 rebuild. Alright, we have left the shop. So to recap, it was there just under 2 months. I was promised every day for 3 weeks that it would be done tomorrow, to no avail, but it's finally back. He fixed everything but the exhaust, and given that it wouldn't start when I got there and stalled out twice on property, I am not quite sure the mechanical restoration is done yet. We will just start driving it around and see what error codes come back and which don't. As of right now, there's no ABS light, no traction light, no error codes. It is a check engine light free P38 Range Rover, but I can't say I'm leaving there with a lot of confidence that this is the last time that I'll visit the mechanic. Alright, more driving impressions. I'm 25 miles in. There's no check engine lights, so I'm feeling a little bit. I'm now stuck in traffic, but the car isn't stalled out, no check engine light, no ABS or traction control light, so I think he actually fixed some stuff. Now I'm thinking through it, and there were a few things he told me that were needed addressed that weren't, so I'm cautiously optimistic that I'm at least going to make it home now and that I can enjoy and get some miles on it. The big thing is this exhaust leak is loud and annoying, and I have to imagine is not helping the idling and drivability of this car. But we were going 80 for a while before it got stop and go. The car seemed to be responding well, good throttle input, the ride quality is pretty good. I think mechanically it's now at least caught up with all of its deferred maintenance. So feeling decent overall, annoyed that took so long. The money wasn't really bad, $1,900 bucks to get this sorted. If it stays sorted, that's money well spent. So the fluids were all flush, the oil, trans, and diff. We replaced O2 sensors, wheel speed sensors, the hub and the axle. There was a secondary air pipe that had a leak that was causing some issues. Cleared all the codes. I think there were 1 or 2 other minor things in there, but quite a bit really that was done. It was really 3 days of work done over 2 months, but it was done. So I am glad that they found stuff, and he went through at the level of detail to find some things I didn't report, but he wanted to address. Downside was we weren't able to get that front bumper off, so when we get home, my favorite tool, the Sawzall, is going to come out, and we're going to see if we can't persuade it off after all. The next stop will be cosmetics. I desperately need to get some paintless dent repair, try to figure out what we can do about the clear coat failure, the rip in the seat, a handful of other things to make it cosmetically sound, but it really just needs miles. So it's been 125 miles since I've gotten it. We will try to put on at least 500 miles before we go to sell it, so I really know it's sorted and have worked out all the kinks. P38 ownership, we're back to driving it. It feels so good to be here in the wheel of this. The seating position is amazing. I feel like I'm 10 foot tall and just towering over all of these normies. Even this Ram TRX in front of me does not look like a big vehicle in comparison. So stoked to be back. P38, holler at your boy. Look at the light tree, huh? I guess that is normal behavior. Simple things here, but missing covers make a world of difference when shooting your engine bay. So we'll just go ahead and pop, like so. Much better. Some cheap maintenance. Take a look at your cabin air filter. Here it is all cleaned out with just a garden hose. I'm gonna buy 2 more, they're 15 bucks each. But any new car I get, replace the air filter, replace the cabin filters. You'll save yourself a lot of headache for like 50 bucks total. Otherwise you're sucking peanut butter through a straw and wondering why it's not working. So I wish I'd figured it out before the track day, but AC's back in business, baby. So the AC no longer has an aerolite and is pumping cold air, but that was just from washing these out with the hose. I got the new ones, 15 bucks a pop, so $30 in total, and I think that's gonna be well worth replacing at this point. So the cool thing is these slide in. Like, this is not something you need a mechanic for or even much of a brain. I'm doing this one-handed. They slide in if you don't put them in backwards. Let's just go with that. Like that. On the other side, same dealio. And then these things just close back up and we'll screw them in. Time to get the straight pipe issue fixed. We'll see how it sounds after we drop it off. Victory! Same day service, 300 bucks. That is the sound of peace and quiet. The exhaust leak is completely welded up. New center pipe in there, and the car sounds so much more luxurious and livable now. So thankfully that repair went better, and we are one step closer to getting this puppy in prime shape. All right, the real moment of truth. Will it pass smog now that all the check engine lights are cleared and the exhaust is fixed? So we are here and should know in about 10 minutes. All right, and about that smog test, I'm gonna replace the O2 sensors and see if that makes me pass it next time, because it was an epic fail the first time. So time to replace the O2 sensors now that the check engine light's on. So I got this handy dandy socket to help remove it. It was 10 bucks on Amazon. And then a new O2 sensor off Rover parts. So this is a pretty easy DIY job. In this case, I'm DIYing it because my last mechanic never got to it, but he did order me the parts, which was nice. So here goes nothing. I soaked everything in PB Blaster underneath, so it's just a matter of finding them and removing them. And you can see front O2 sensor here, the back one's back there. From what I've read, it helps to let the engine get a little warm first, and then you gotta unplug it. And all of this is gonna be a dirty job, but here goes nothing. Like all good, easy DIY projects, I burned myself on one arm, I'm dirty. I think I stripped the bolt and I didn't get either sensor out. So just booked an appointment Friday. I declare loss and we're gonna let the professionals do it, and I'm sure they're gonna be pissed that I screwed it up and made it harder for them. But that's the only remaining check engine light issue. So if they can fix it, then we might pass smog. It took 2 hours to get those O2 sensors out, so it's not just me being a bonehead. One actually seared straight off and they had to drill it out and re-drill out the bung for it basically. And then the other one, they got out with a torch. So definitely not a DIY-able job, famous last words, but they're both out, and most importantly, no check engine light. So we'll see if that continues all the way home, but for now, we are check engine light free. Woohoo! All right, I wanted to figure out why the check engine light didn't work. It's only 4 bolts to get the gauge cluster out. And then you can see in the back here, this one is check E, service, spare lights. So I just gotta check each of these bulbs and figure out if one was removed or Something shady happened here, but let's just go ahead and I think the check engine light bulb actually burned out and wasn't anything shady. Wow, that's crazy. Range Rover, baby. All right, well, here goes nothing. This is some weird, janky oil pan screw, and it is leaking. You can't thread it in all the way. It is not OEM. I think it's magnetic. What I'm gonna do is try to collect a sample of oil and send it into Blackstone, and that'll give the new buyer added comfort, I guess, knowing that the oil checks out, there's no metal shavings, etc. First, I gotta get this weird boy out. It appears to be a 24 mil. I cannot find a 24 mil, so we're just gonna do this with a plumber's wrench. It's gonna be messy. One more sin I will pay for so someone else doesn't have to. And if this stops leaking on my driveway, I guess it's worth leaking on my face some. Okay, how's this on so tight? All right, let's try this again. I had to get out a breaker bar to get the party started. And I did find a 24 mil, so we'll just keep turning this bad boy until she's finger loose. I just really hope this wasn't drilled out and the OE socket doesn't fit anymore. Here's what I'm gonna do. I've got my catch cover, if you can't see that off camera. It's gonna catch any spillage. We're gonna put this right below. And then I've got my replacement oil pan, screw, and socket wrench ready to go. So we'll lose a little, but I'll just top it up. Here comes the mess. That's full. We're losing a lot more oil than I wanted. Oh, of course I didn't have that twisted the right way. Oh, you're kidding me. This is not the right size. Oh, that for nothing. So this is either an aftermarket drain plug or somehow the part changed. No! Son of a biscuit. All right, well that really didn't go to plan, but back in with this. Thankfully this oil mat covered a lot of it, so. Not many ooga-doogas here, so breaker bar time. All right, I spoke to Paul the mechanic. He said two things. One, just use a regular, not synthetic oil because it leaks a little less. So I'm refilling / topping up with fresh. But more importantly, he said he noticed the oil drain plug too. It's a tapered unit. So that was done because someone stripped the old one and just shoved it in there. So that's why it leaks and why the OE unit won't fit. So for now, I'm gonna torque it a little better. I got the correct sockets. Gonna fill it up and we're gonna live with it. But eventually the move would be to replace the oil pan entirely with a used unit that has the correct threading in it. All right, 2 updates. 1, that oil change was a disaster if you couldn't tell. Issue number 2 is that the check engine light came back after about 50 miles of driving for knock sensor 2. So I cleared it one more time. We'll see if that fixes it. If not, I do have an extra knock sensor. We'll put it in. Also, got a new poster. Thank you to the commenters who said to disconnect the seatbelt plug. It's right here. You can see I disconnected it. And now when you start up the car, no beep, 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 beep. I have a squishy brake pedal and it illuminates when I push down the brake pedal. So here we go. We're gonna get the accumulator off and then replace it. So I've already gotten it loose off camera. Voila. It comes off. Not a lot of fluid in there, but this thing is rusty and nasty. So old versus new, it is time. Look at that shiny, perfect label. So we will just reverse the process here. There's your home, buddy. For once, something easy. Gotta build back up the brake pressure, otherwise when you turn it back on, you'll have no brakes, so here goes nothing. All right, time for the moment of truth. Let's see if I got brakes after that little repair. Actually, I can already tell we are good. I'm gonna drive around a little bit and see if the brake pedal feels a little firmer. My wife, bless her heart, will not drive this car, and in fact, let me recreate the one time she tried. She got from about the garage to about right here before she said, I'm good, no thank you. So we're already beating her record in terms of distance. ABS light went away, car's braking just fine. Can I tell a big difference in the responsiveness of the pedal? No, not really. Not at all, in fact. But hold up. Look what we got here, ladies and gentlemen. Yellow and boxy meet yellow and boxy. Wow, that was a choice. And behold, a thing of beauty. No check engine light, no warning lights. We are minty fresh, boys and girls. Let's go ahead and brake check ourselves here once we get past this corner and see how old Yellow P does. Skirt! We're stopping just fine. So of my DIY repairs, if you're keeping track at home, we're still pretty awful here, but that was an easy fix. Probably 5 minutes with the right tools. Twist on, twist off. I'm glad I didn't have a mechanic do that. We were so close. Surface engine soon is back after 94 miles of driving. I think it was almost ready for smog. Let's see what we got here. 3 codes, more than I expected. Knock sensor 2, I've seen that one before. 1412 and 1415. Gonna have to Google those. Dang it! That's right, no fault codes. I had that shadow code for the knock sensor. I replaced it myself. That took 2 hours and a trip to O'Reilly, but it is done. And now to drive 100 miles and see if we can pass smog. Wishful thinking, delusion, fantasy, mistaken belief, self-deception. Required skills for a P38 owner to get through this alive. I hoped and said in the last video that I think 3,000 bucks will get this mechanically sorted. No major issues. How wrong could I be, right? Actually, not too far off, surprisingly. The bill from my mechanic, not as bad as you would think. Really, the pain came from the waiting. It was there 7 weeks and did approximately 7 hours of labor in total. So it was really more getting people to work on it and finding parts that was the frustrating part, rather than it being a ton of labor itself. It was $975 in parts, including a new hub, axle shaft, secondary air pipe, ABS speed sensor, all of the fluids, including oil, transmission, and gear oil, as well as some miscellaneous bits. And in there we did the secondary air leak was resolved, the hub was replaced, the sensor was replaced, engine oil, diffs, and transfer case fluids were flushed. A couple more things were diagnosed. This is $2 grand I've spent right here, and it's not gonna be the end, but I think it's a good start. After 7 weeks, I was getting pretty frustrated, so I said, I'm taking the car, I don't care if it's done or not. And I was promised it would be ready tomorrow about every day for 2 weeks before I finally did get it home. However, I'm really thankful he got as much done as he did. I get it, you get busy. Next, the exhaust. So first I had the center exhaust that was completely blown through at this point. Hole all the way through. $300 for them to install it, and it was approximately a $300 center section OEM. So $600 to fix the exhaust. That brings us to roughly $2,600. Then the O2 sensors also needed replaced. I had bought that from my mechanic for $300 cash, and then it was $352 to install it because I couldn't get them out myself. Next, we are going to look at some miscellaneous stuff. Brake fluid to top it up after the accumulators lost a lot of fluid, $12. This is a return. I got back $10.75 for returning something I didn't need. Free money. It looks like this one is brake cleaner and extra oil, $40 of oil to top up after the oil leak. So 40 bucks down the drain, not too shabby. A knock sensor, I still need to do this myself. It looks like a pain. I am hoping it fixes itself. It is a shadow code, meaning it's not actually throwing a check engine light, but I see the DTC in my code reader. And last but not least, the brake accumulator after tax and shipping was about $300, already installed myself. Add to that a few other miscellaneous items I'm tracking on my Google sheet over here. The grand total that I have spent, and we are not done, $13,083.16. That includes shipping, buyer's fees, all of the parts. What it doesn't include is my labor. I've probably spent 20 to 30 hours wrenching, detailing, etc. If you want to ascribe a value to my time, that's probably a couple grand more of labor, but it's about where I want to call quits, but I need to get these check engine lights fully resolved. So the last video, we will sort out all those issues, we'll get it past smog, and we'll get it listed. Famous last words, but I think we're almost there. And in the words of my good friend Kenan, goodbye.